The most pressing question is about the quarterback position for Tennessee football. Well, Josh Heupel chimed in on the matter in Thursday's press conference.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it, your Friday morning Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Today's episode is brought to you in part by our good friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com to place your NFL bets all season long. That's FanDuel Sportsbook. Got a busy but fun show coming up here today. To conclude the show, we're going to go back and look at a summer episode where I did some season predictions, some bowl predictions, offensive MVP, defensive MVP, bowl predictions, newcomer, freshman. Look how wrong I was, and I did hit on a few, but mainly you're going to laugh at me in segment number 3. Why Jim Knowles was the defensive coordinator pick for Josh Heupel. He spoke on that in yesterday's press conference, but first, what about the quarterback position? What about Jake Merklinger entering the transfer portal? How do you go about conversations with young quarterbacks heading into portal season? Is there a specific time that he's got to hear something from Joey Aguilar? Josh Heupel commented on all that in Thursday's press conference. So Josh Heupel was first asked about Jake Merklinger entering the transfer portal, his comments on that, or his intentions to enter the transfer portal, his comments on that, how that affects the Music City Bowl in terms of quarterback pecking order, and kind of, what this looks like at the quarterback position now with kind of a area of uncertainty, not knowing about Joey Aguilar, his status, and more on that in a moment. But pretty much kind of what this means at the quarterback position right now with Jake Merklinger, who was always expected to enter the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think it's like your entire roster where, there's moving pieces. And, Jake made a choice that he felt like was right for him and support him. Jake's been a great teammate while he's been here and grown and competed. Obviously, George will be the number 2 here going into to the bowl game. And then as we finish that up and you enter into the portal, with everything that's going on with Joey and all those pieces, we'll look to put that position in a room to help us go compete and play for a championship. I don't have a specific date at this time.
Yeah, that last little bit right there. I don't have a specific date at this time. The question was, do you have kind of a date that you need to hear something from Joey Aguilar in order to make your plans moving forward to the quarterback position? Now, he said that publicly on the record. I don't have a date in mind. You know for a fact that he absolutely has a cutoff date in mind. I mean, we've talked about it on this show. The portal opens on January the 2nd. If you don't know anything about the future regarding Joey Aguilar, if he's going to get that extra year or whatever, I mean, you've got to move on. And that's not that you don't want Joey Aguilar. I think you welcome Joey Aguilar back with open arms if it's possible. Nobody knows at this point in time if it's possible. And again, at the time of this recording, no insider baseball, no insider information here, but it just feels like no news on that subject is bad news. Again, the NCAA's got to file a response to the complaint from Diego Pavia's team where Joey Aguilar is listed as a plaintiff on trying to negate those JUCO years from counting against those players. The NCAA has to file a response. They've got until, it might be today actually, where they have to file a response, and then the court has to determine, okay, what's the next set of actions? We're going to hear this case, and we're going to get down to business. But is all that going to be resolved? Try the case, hear the case, and then you have to wait for a verdict. When that verdict's going to come in, again, I don't know the timeline if all this is going to get done by January the 2nd. So when Josh Heupel sits there and says, hey, I don't have a date in mind, that's just kind of, that's the politically correct thing to say because you never want to say the wrong thing, but he's absolutely got to know something for sure. But again, we continue to talk about the quarterback position. What is Tennessee going to do? What are the options that will be available in the transfer portal? What is affordable for Tennessee? What is logical for Tennessee? Does it make sense for Tennessee to go spend $4 to $5 million on a one-year quarterback, or go and spend $1.5 million to $2 million, maybe a little over $2 million, for a good quarterback that'll come in and start, and then you pair that with the rest of your offense, and you can still use that leftover money to where you're not paying $5 million for a quarterback to go out and get some other positions of needs? Because guys, gals, there's going to be many, many, many positions of needs. I mean, we're talking maybe as upwards of 10 to 15 transfer portal additions for Tennessee. And they ain't coming here for free. And so it's all about, and that's the issue here, to where it's never just cut and dry. It's never just, oh, that quarterback's available. That quarterback looks like a good fit. Just go get him. Just go get him. Because again, even if you had the funds to go do that, is that the best use of your funds? We talked about the example from Duke with a quarterback last year where he's a great quarterback, but that was not the best use of money for the Blue Devils. So anyway, I thought that was one of the big noteworthy takeaways from Josh Heupel in his press conference yesterday. Another question was asked on how do you go about the discussions with the young quarterbacks in your room? You have George MacIntyre, who's already here. You have Faizon Brandon coming in, who's a 5-star prospect. Those two guys want to play. They're not coming here to just sit here and go for the experience. They want to play. Everybody wants to play. If you don't want to play, if you don't want to start, you shouldn't be on the team. You don't want that mindset on your team. So those guys want to play, but Tennessee has to have a third scholarship quarterback. So if Joey Aguilar is not in the picture, Jake Merklinger's in the portal, Tennessee has got to get a portal quarterback no matter what. So regardless if that's going to try to find a starter, going and finding a Joey Aguilar to come in here and compete, or just going to get a body, you can never phrase it as just going to get a body, Tennessee will have to go to the portal if Joey Aguilar is not a part of the equation. How are those conversations? How do you go about that balancing act with young, talented quarterbacks on your roster, young, that you do like and you do hope are a part of your future moving forward?
Yeah, I think you have to be honest in today's landscape, and I think that's so that your players trust you on a consistent basis, and ultimately information's readily available to everybody too. So I think being transparent, open in those lines of communication really important, and that's not just transfer portal season. It's legitimately at every phase of what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. And to steal a Josh Heupel crutch in press conferences or a phrase, at the end of the day, that you want to be transparent. You want to be open and honest. Because, again, that'll come back and bite you. I mean, if you're not, your players will call you on it. It'll get out there in recruiting. It'll get out there in transfer portal. Like, oh, this guy will say one thing, but he'll do a different thing. So, I mean, you need to be open. You need to be transparent. But you also sometimes need to protect some feels, right? That's a part of that balancing act. And if Tennessee's going to go out to the transfer portal, Josh Heupel, and to find a starter, Josh Heupel will need to have some delicate and conversations with the George MacIntyre and with the Faizon Brandon, because he likes both those guys. I think both those guys can play. If you're going to find a starter right now, it's because they're just probably not ready yet. Again, I think fanatic, say it all the time, I think sometimes we just jump the gun so much. It's like, oh, 5-star coming in here. Okay, just play him. Just play him. Let's go. Let's get in. Let's play him. Like, honestly, I was talking to one of my buddies about it the other day. Like, think about the last true freshman, highly rated quarterback that came in and started and hit from day one. I'm sure there are some examples that I'm not thinking of. Probably not even some of the bigger institutions, but didn't take half the season to kind of get in there. Or in DJ Lagway's case last year, halfway through the season, he got in there and he had some high moments, or two years ago, he had some high moments, but he also had 9 interceptions as a part-time starter. Like Trevor Lawrence comes to mind, but didn't he take a couple of games before he was the starter? And that ended up being the right call. They went on, and I believe they played in a national championship that year. He was a freshman. I could be mistaken there. Bryce Young was a redshirt freshman, I believe, but again, he was a redshirt freshman. Like, my point is, it's not just as simple as, oh, 5-star, shiny toy, come in here, he's ready to go, let's go win championships. These guys, there's a process. You got to come in here. You got to adapt to the speed of the game. Nobody talks about that, but that is a legit, real thing. The speed of the game is completely different, and it takes practicing and going through reps for that stuff to slow down. You hear players say that all the time, and a lot of times you might roll your eyes and just say, well, everybody says that, but it is a legit thing. Your bodies are not physically built ready to go and play in the SEC a lot of times. Sometimes you go out there and play, and it's still not where it needs to be, like Nico was after his redshirt freshman season. So I found all that pretty interesting, and of course, that is going to continue to be the story of December on into early January, where, sure, Tennessee's about to play in the Music City Bowl, and that's great, but the conversation and the biggest question and what everybody wants to know is, what is the quarterback position going to look like next fall for Tennessee? So that's what Josh Heupel had to say about those items on Monday. Why did Josh Heupel hire Jim Knowles? What was it about Jim Knowles that made him the right candidate and the right fit here at Tennessee? Josh Heupel has a lot of good things to say about Tennessee's next defensive coordinator. That's coming up next. We'll hear from Josh Heupel on Jim Knowles right here on a Friday morning. Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. The holidays always show up a little faster than we expect, and if you're still putting together those gifts, last-minute decor, or getting your home ready for guests, Wayfair has you covered. Whether you need a quick room refresh, new bedding, or some of those final seasonal touches, Wayfair makes it easy to get what you need and to get it fast. Wayfair is truly your one-stop shop for everything home, with decor, furniture, kitchen essentials, and gifts for every single style, every single budget, all delivered quickly and easily. Their selection is huge. Again, it's bedding, decor, kitchen gear, kids' room updates. I was able to find everything in one place when we checked that out when we moved into our house back in, I guess it was October of last year. So easy to shop for, and style helps you pick pieces that actually fit your home instead of just making it a guessing game. Get the last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head on over to Wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, Wayfair, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. That is Wayfair. And a big shout out to our friends over at FanDuel, where NFL Sundays, they move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's why making live betting with FanDuel is so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. FanDuel is reacting to it in real time as well. You can place bets on as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, defense tightens up, and momentum swings after a turnover or a takeaway on defense. FanDuel allows you to jump into that moment as it reacts to those things instantly. Money lines change, player props change when guys heat up. You, as the observer, can also bet on the next touchdown score, the drive-in results, totals, and more that'll keep you locked in every single snap, every time, with every different possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you with our friends over at FanDuel. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to your Friday morning Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen. Locked On Vols, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is the #1 sports podcasting network available right now. Josh Heupel spoke to the media yesterday, probably his only time he'll speak to us before Christmas. He'll speak to us one or two other times before the Music City Bowl. But it's been the first time since signing day, and really the first time that we could actually talk to him about real stuff since the end of the regular season. And those real stuff were quarterback conversations like we spoke on in segment number 1, and obviously about your new defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, and why Tennessee picked Jim Knowles, why Josh Heupel thought Jim Knowles was the right fit for the University of Tennessee. That was one of the first questions right off the bat in his press conference on Thursday, and here's what Josh Heupel had to say about making Jim Knowles his next defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think you have to be honest in today's landscape.
I am just kidding. That is the wrong clip. Let's try this again. This is what Josh Heupel had to say about making Jim Knowles his next defensive coordinator.
Look at his track record of success, building defenses that play at a championship level, being able to do it multiple spots, do it in a way that fits the personnel that's there and that you can recruit to. So subtly being different, the different places that he's been, and the ability to tie all three levels of it together and play really good defense. His track record of getting better every year. People that have worked with him, who he is as far as the culture fit. Wants to be involved and grow young men. He's going to coach them hard, but he's going to love them hard too. And I think you put all of that together, was certainly the right choice for us and where we want to go.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about Jim Knowles and what makes this an interesting hire for Josh Heupel. Number one, I mean, Josh Heupel's not, at least at Tennessee, Josh Heupel's never fired anybody until now. And you don't just fire people to fire people. You got to have merit. You got to have reasons. But I thought that, at least for him and his evolution as a head coach, I mean, sometimes you got to make those tough calls. And, he did that here. Obviously, he went away from Tim Banks, which, personality styles, where Jim Knowles is a little bit more like Rodney Garner. And I wouldn't say Tim Banks is I mean, he's a super nice guy, right? I mean, super nice guy, but I wouldn't say that he's a softie on the football field because that's not accurate. but he's not the hard nose. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to yell at you like a Rodney Garner. Again, he kind of said it right there. He's going to coach you hard, but love you hard as well. And that's what I always say about Rodney Garner. He's going to coach you hard. He's going to love you harder. And that's how Alex Golesh was. That's what I told Zach Blackerby when I joined Locked On Auburn when they made the head coaching hire of Alex Golesh. And so I think that dynamic, number one, is interesting because you're kind of going away from a different personality. And sometimes that's needed because, again, Tennessee's defense was not good last year. Jim Knowles, we've talked about it plenty, about his defenses and kind of where they've ranked in terms of the national rankings since the last 8 years. I went back and did the last 8 years because I think that's the most relevant. And I know offenses and football has changed a lot in the last 10 years. And so I went back the last 8 years, and his defenses have finished in the top 10 nationally in scoring 3 seasons, led all FBS with 12.9 points per game. Let me read that again. He finished in the top 10 nationally in scoring defenses in 3 of these 8 years that I pulled data from. Led the nation in 2024, allowing 12.9 points per game while he's at Ohio State. Defense is ranked inside the top 10 in total defense in 2024, leading the country at 254 yards allowed per game on average, which is a really, really good stat. His defenses during this span, top 10 in pass defenses twice, number 1 in 2023, allowing 146 yards through the air, twice in rush defense, number 3 in 2024, allowing only 87 yards on the ground per game. His defenses during this span has finished in the top 3 in sacks, leading the country with 58.5 in 2021 when he was with Oklahoma State. His best defenses, of course, 2024 Ohio State, 2023 Ohio State, that was year 2 and 3, and then 2021 Oklahoma State, that was year 4 with the Cowboys. His defenses do get better year over year a little bit, but again, like everybody wants to talk about how it's going to take a while, and you don't know if Tennessee's going to have enough patience, and that's kind of funny, Tennessee fans having patience, right? But here's the deal. He's walking into a locker room. He's walking into a roster situation that is 10 times better than anything Oklahoma State had to offer in 2018, okay? Anything Oklahoma State had to offer in 2018 when those numbers were bad. Those numbers, his first year at Oklahoma State in 2018, those national numbers kind of reflect where Tennessee was this year. But he's walking into a locker room and a roster that is 10 times better than what he walked into in 2018 at Oklahoma State. What he walked into in 2022 Ohio State, it's more similar, okay? Much more similar. And those numbers were pretty good. Again, 24th in scoring, 14th in total defense, 26th in pass defense, 25th in rush defense. Well, guys, when you compare that to what Tennessee did this year, 93rd in scoring defense, 88th in total defense, 115th in pass defense, and 62nd in rush defense. I mean, wouldn't you take that? I'd take that every single year right now. Built on that in 2023, and then, of course, built on that in 2024. Even at Penn State, this year, where he just came from, 37th in scoring defense, 34th in total defense, 22nd in pass defense, 72nd in rush defense. Those are national numbers. Now, is that the standard? Absolutely not. Need to be better than that. But again, compare that to what Tennessee was this year, and you take that every single step of the day because, again, that defense gets you in the CFP this year with Tennessee's offense. So, again, that's not the standard. That just goes to show you, unfortunately, how bad Tennessee was statistically on defense this year. What has Jim Knowles been doing his first week on the job? What's been on his itinerary? What has he been doing this first week on the job? That's what Josh Heupel had to say on that, and kind of what he was looking for in a new defensive coordinator before he made it official hiring Jim Knowles.
Guys that have the ability to fit what personnel you have, and I'm saying that because we got really good personnel, guys that are coming back and being able to take advantage of their traits where you're not starting over from ground zero. The ability to control and command all 3 levels, the ability to build championship level defenses, and I already talked about the culture piece as well. So I think it's a combination of putting all of those things together. Is what we were looking for, the right fit, and that's why we're excited about Jim. got here on Monday, and you're starting the onboarding process, just with campus and that type of thing, and then him having an opportunity to get introduced in front of the team, be able to watch practice and what a typical week looks like from us on the practice standpoint, the ability to watch and get to know our current roster here, and I think get to know our staff, all of it, and so you continue to grow in he continues to grow in his understanding of who we have here and what it is, and ultimately a big part of it is the projection of the portal and things that we need to give our defense an opportunity to be elite. Yeah, he hasn't had individual meetings at this point. He's been able to sit in on some position meetings, and our 26 recruits have the opportunity to communicate with those guys, and that process continues on the recruiting side, with 27s and then ultimately portal guys here quickly too, coming up.
That is Josh Heupel on Jim Knowles, what he was looking for in a defensive coordinator, what he's been doing this first week on the job. And it's been very much a hands-off approach, like, hey, these guys have a game they're preparing for. I'm not going to implement myself in game plan. I'm not going to do specific coaching. I'm going to watch. I'm going to observe. I'm going to make notes. Excuse me. I'm going to talk about I'm going to make observations on who I like, who I might not like, where I need help, all that and more. And that's kind of what we talked about earlier in the week. All right. When we come back, going to revisit some of my predictions from back in the summer. Some are okay, some are not. So we're all going to laugh. We're all going to point fingers and laugh at Cain when we come back about how wrong I was. All that and more as we continue on here at your Friday morning Locked On Vols. Go ahead and stay tuned. Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy here, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances, because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and you can stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you forgot that you were paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. I'm guilty as charged. I've got subscriptions all the time. I'm like, oh, I need to cancel that. I haven't used that in months. Don't know what that is, and the Rocket Money helps eliminate those things from your day-to-day lives. I like how Rocket Money automatically builds a budget based on my past spending as well, so it helps me keep track without overthinking it. Bill alerts and spending notifications help you catch the small things before they turn into big expenses as well. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. They can help you out. Check it all out at rocketmoney.com. All right, we're going to be short and sweet here to end this Friday Locked On Vols as we set the table for the weekend. Got some college football playoff games to check out. I hope you guys enjoy watching those. We got the Christmas week coming up next week, and I've already kind of laid out my schedule for next week. We are going to air our grievances for Festivus. That's going to be on Tuesday, National Festivus Day. So if you guys have any, go ahead and start sending those in. @_Cain or at Locked On Vols. Let me know what grinds your gears in the sports world or Tennessee. We're going to air our grievances on the Festivus Day on Tuesday. Wednesday, we are going to participate in Vol Santa and what we want to see in the coming year from Tennessee football, Tennessee basketball, Tennessee baseball, all that and more. Boogie Bentley is going to join me on a Christmas Day Locked On Vols on Thursday. Hopefully we'll have a crossover with Locked On Illini on Friday. So, yeah, we're going to have a whole lot of fun next week. So, looking forward to that. And even though there's holiday season, we're still going to have you covered here with episodes of Locked On Vols. All right, so I wanted to end this show kind of lighthearted, kind of having some fun, and I'm going to do a show on 2025 Tennessee football superlatives from the postseason, how it actually played out. But I went back and I looked at some older episodes on Thursday morning before I recorded this podcast, and I was checking out some episodes I did in early June. Found one when I was actually in Fayetteville, Arkansas for the Super Regionals, and I recorded this in my hotel room, and I was doing superlatives heading into the 2025 season. Now, this was after spring ball, after the Nico debacle. This was in a time where we didn't exactly know. I mean, everybody assumed, as did I, that Joey Aguilar was going to be the starting quarterback, but it wasn't official. There was no quarterback competition at that point in time. Nobody had won it. Boo Carter had yet to stop coming to workouts. That was before that thing spiraled and sprinted downhill. It was a unique time. That was when we thought that Jamal McCoy was going to at least play some football, thought Tennessee was going to have Ricky Gibson the entire year. Kind of fun to go back and look at how things change a little bit and kind of where your predictions were. So I went back and made a list on some of what my predictions were. So we'll all be patient and we'll all laugh and we'll discuss a little bit here. But we'll do this show maybe Monday. I think that'd be a good Monday show to kind of go back and look at what they actually were from the season. But in early June, this is what I had as a record prediction. I had 9-3. Tennessee was 8-4. Tennessee was a one stop on 14 chances against Georgia, or a made field goal away from being 9-3. Tennessee had a defense that probably beat Oklahoma. No excuses for losing to Vanderbilt the way it was, and I think Alabama was the better football team. So 2 of those games I think Tennessee could have won. So, 9-3 was a pretty good guess. Tennessee was 8-4. My bold prediction, which is meant to be bold, and at the time you didn't know anything about Joey Aguilar and how it was going to translate over to the SEC. You didn't know that he was going to lead the SEC in passing. You didn't know Deshaun Bishop was going to have the year that he had. You didn't know Chris Brazzell was going to be an All-American. But you also didn't know about the injuries and all that. My bold prediction was at 9-3, Tennessee was going to be right there in the college football playoff conversation, and Tennessee was going to make its second straight trip to the CFP. Again, you beat Georgia, who knows? Beat Oklahoma, who knows? Shoulda, coulda, wouldas to sit in horseshoes and hand grenades here. Like, Tennessee lost those games. Tennessee was 8-4. My bold prediction didn't pan out. They call it bold for a reason, but I don't think it was outlandish at the time, nor do I think it was outlandish now. I understand Tennessee's defense was not good this year, but at the time when it was recording, it was a good bold take. Good bold take. Let's get into some laughs here. Offensive MVP. Now, I did put the caveat in here. If you go back and watch the episode like I did, or actually I'll listen to it on Thursday morning, my offensive MVP was Peyton Lewis, which was a miss. We can all laugh. It was a miss. But I literally go in there and say, I think Deshaun Bishop will be the starter. I think Deshaun Bishop will be a good football player, but I think he's better when everybody doubts him. So I think I said something like, I'm even going to doubt him here. Here's more fuel to the fire. Give me Peyton Lewis. I think I said something like that. Give me Peyton Lewis. And I go into why I thought Peyton Lewis is going to be successful. And I still think Peyton Lewis can be a good running back. But clearly he was not as good as I thought he was going to be this year. Star Thomas overshadowed him for much of the year, and Deshaun Bishop overshadowed both of them. I pretty much said that, though, and I talked more about Deshaun Bishop in that conversation in the running back room. I think I was trying to fuel that, trying to speak that into existence. That's why I picked Peyton Lewis, but ultimately I thought Peyton Lewis was going to be better than he was this year. He was not. That was a big-time miss. My defensive MVP, boy, oh boy, this is a massive miss. But remember, this was before the month of July. And the month of July is when everything went south. Fall camp is when everything went south. And then ultimately the season, and then he quits and he gets kicked off and is what it is. My defensive MVP was going to be Boo Carter. At the time, that was not an outlandish or a bad take. Boo Carter had a great offseason until the month of July. True story. Boo Carter had a very good offseason until the month of July, and that's when it all went south. And so that was a biggest miss of the entire thing right here. But at the time, that's not a horrendous pick. Offensive most improved. For some reason, I didn't do a defensive most improved. Offensively most improved, I had, and I think this is why I had 2 back in June, and they both hit. These were spot on. Mike Matthews. Yeah, that's good. Lance Hurd. Okay, both of those were spot on. I didn't do a defensive one, but I did 2 offensive ones, and both of those hit. Mike Matthews, clearly, he was one of the more improved players from Tennessee from one year to the next, and man, so was Lance Hurd. Lance Hurd was not good in 2024. He was good in 2025. So I can live with those. Best true freshman. I don't think I did one for O&D, but I just did one in general. Best true freshman, my pick was Ethan Utley. That missed. At the time, Tennessee had injuries at defensive tackle. Tennessee had depth issues at defensive tackle. And clearly in the opener, Tennessee lost another starter, Jackson Moy, for a little bit of time. So I thought that Ethan Utley, which he was in the rotation, I thought he would have played more more part of the rotation, a bigger role in the rotation. And so I didn't think that he would play like 60 snaps a game, but I thought he would average like 15 snaps a game. He didn't. That was a miss by me. That one was a miss right there. Best newcomer. Hey, I hit this one. And we'll end on this one because it's the last one I have. I hit on this one. Best newcomer I said was going to be Colton Hood. And Colton Hood very well might be an early second-round draft pick. Number 6 cornerback on Mel Kiper's board right now. Colton Hood was a massive win and a success story that Tennessee needs to sell when the transfer portal is opening in early January. So that's a little bit of fun. I mean, again, Peyton Lewis, big miss. Ethan Utley, big miss. Boo Carter, biggest miss of the whole thing. Hit on Mike Matthews, hit on Lance Hurd, hit on Colton Hood. Record wasn't all that off. College football, or the college football playoff bowl prediction, well, Tennessee was nowhere near it by the end of the season because of the embarrassing loss to Vanderbilt. But, bold take in the month of June, that's not horrible. So it's always fun to go back and hold myself accountable because we're all wrong. We all make mistakes. But also it's interesting to see how it all played out. So we'll go ahead and schedule this. On Monday's show, we will do superlatives from this actual season. Who's the MVP? Who's most improved? Will it be Mike Matthews or will I have another take? Who's going to be the offensive MVP? Who was the best freshman? Who was the best newcomer? We'll do all those on Monday's Locked On Vols, and really looking forward to it. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, downloading these episodes. Every dayers could not do the show without you. Again, we've got a big week coming up, Festivus. We're going to air our sports grievances, our Tennessee grievances. That's going to be on Tuesday, so send in your submissions, comment on this episode, tweet at me, Facebook me at Cainer on Air, tweet at me, Instagram, TikTok at Locked On Vols and at Cainer _Cainer. That's coming up on Tuesday. Vol Santa, what we want to see from Tennessee football, basketball, baseball coming up in 2025, 2026, 2027. No, I guess it would just be 2026. Go on, Eric. And we got Boogie coming up on Thursday, Christmas Day, and hopefully a crossover scheduled for next Friday. It's going to be a fun show coming up. It's going to be a fun week next week as we're going to celebrate Christmas right here on Locked On Vols. Thank you guys so much. Remember, $5 for a month or $50 for the year. You can join the Everydayer Club, get more exclusive content. Have a great weekend, everybody. This is Locked On Vols.